Hello student. Today we discuss about the reproductive system. So first of all, what is a reproduction? So reproductions, or we can say procreation or breeding. It is the biological process by which a new individual organism offspring are produced from their parents. And the reproduction is a fundamental features of all known life. Each individual organism exists as the result of reproduction. So, the what is a reproductive system? So, reproductive system is an organism, also known as the genital system, is the biological system made up of all the anatomical organ involved in the sexual reproduction. And many non-living substances such as fluids, hormone, and pheromones are also important accessory to the reproductive system. So, the next one is the female reproductive organ. Female reproductive organ in a female are those which concern with the copulation, fertilization, growth, and development of fetus and its subsequent exit to the outer world. The female reproductive organ can be subdivided into external genitalia and the internal genitalia. Okay, now first of all, in our mind, a question always arises in our mind: how does the female reproductive system work? So, the female reproductive system provides several functions. The ovaries produce the egg cell called the ova or oocytes, and the oocytes are then transported to the fallopian tube where fertilization by a sperm may occur. And the fertilized egg then move to the uterus where the uterine lining has thickened in response to the normal hormone of the reproductive cycle. Once in the uterus, the fertilized egg can implant into the thickened uterine lining and continue to develop. If implantation does not take place, the uterine lining is shed as a menstrual flow. And the female reproductive system produces female sex hormone that maintain the reproductive cycle. During menopause, the female reproductive system gradually stop making the female hormone necessary for the reproductive cycle to work. At this point, menstrual cycle can become irregular and eventually stop. And 1 year after menstrual cycle stop, the woman is considered to be a menopausal. So the our next topic is the female reproductive external structure. So the function of external female reproductive structure is twofold: to enable sperm to enter the body and to protect internal genital organ from the infectious organism. And the main structural organ of female reproductive systems are labia majora, labia minora, Bartholin gland, clitoris. The first one is the labia majora. The labia majora, also called the large lips, enclose and protect the outer or other external reproductive organ. And during puberty, hair growth occur on the skin of the labia majora, which also contain sweat and oil secreting glands. Next one is the labia minora. The labia minora, also called the small lips, they can have a variety of sizes and the shapes. They where's the location, they locate or they lie just inside the labia majora and surround the openings to the vagina. Vagina is the canal that joins the lower part of the uterus to the outside of the body. And the urethra, the tube that carry urine from bladder to outside of the body. So the skin is very delicate and can become easily irritated and swollen. The next one is the Bartholin's gland. These glands are located next to the vaginal opening on each side and produce a fluid called mucus secretion. Clitoris, is a two labia minora meet at the clitoris, a small sensitive protrusions that is comparable to the penis in males. And the clitoris is covered by a fold of skin called prepuce, which is similar to the foreskin at the end of the penis. Like the penis, the clitoris is very sensitive to stimulation and can become erect. So, the next is the internal reproductive organ. Internal reproductive organ includes vagina, uterus, ovaries, and the fallopian tubes. First is the vagina. The vagina is a canal that joins the cervix to the outside of the body. It is also known as the birth canal. Second one is the uterus, is a hollow pear-shaped organ that is the home to a developing fetus. And the uterus is divided into two parts: the cervix, which is the lower part that open into the vagina, and the main body of the uterus called the corpus. And the corpus can easily expand to hold a developing a baby. And a canal through the cervix allows sperm to enter the menstrual blood to exit. Next one is the ovaries. The ovaries are small oval shaped glands that are located on either side of the uterus. So the ovaries produces egg and hormone. Fallopian tube, these are narrow tubes that are attached to the upper part of the uterus and serve as pathway for the ova or produce the egg cell to travel from ovaries to the uterus. And the fertilization of an egg by a sperm normally occur in the fallopian tube, and the fertilized egg then move to the uterus where it implant to the uterine lining. Okay, next is very important topic is the menstrual cycle. Okay, there are four major hormones. What is the hormones? Hormones are the chemical that stimulates or regulate the activity of cell or other organs. So there are four major hormones involved in the menstrual cycle. The first one is the FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, estrogen, and progesterone. These are the hormones which are responsible in the menstrual cycle. Okay, and there are a number of phases. The phases start from the first day of menstrual cycle. Is first is the follicular phase. In this phase, the menstrual cycle, the following events occur: two hormone, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, are released from brain and travel in the blood to ovaries. And the hormone stimulate the growth of about 50 to 20 eggs in the ovary, and each in its own shell called a follicle. And these hormones also trigger an increase in the production of female hormone estrogen. So as the estrogen level rise like a switch, it turn off the production of the follicle stimulating hormone, and this careful balance of hormone allow the body to limit the number of follicles that will prepare egg to be released. And as the follicular phase progress, one follicle in one ovary become dominant and continues to mature, and this dominant follicle suppresses all other follicle in this group. As a result, they stop growing and die, and the dominant follicle continue to produce estrogen. So the our next phase is the ovulatory phase. The ovulatory phase means ovulation started in this phase, and it's usually start about 14 days after the follicular phase started, but this can vary also. The ovulatory phase fall between the follicular phase and the luteal phase. Most women will have menstrual period 10 to 16 days ovulation. During this phase, the following events occur: the rise in estrogen from dominant follicle trigger a surge in amount of luteinizing hormone that produced by the brain. This causes the dominant follicle to release its egg from ovary. As the egg is released, this process is called ovulation. It is captured by a finger-like projection on the end of the follicle tubes. The fimbriae sweep the egg into the tube. From 1 to 5 days prior to ovulation, many women will notice an increase in egg white cervical mucus. And this mucus is the vaginal discharge that helps to capture and nourish sperm on its way to meet egg for fertilization. Yeah, this is the last phase of a menstrual cycle. Luteal phase. The luteal phase begins right after ovulation and involve following process. Once it releases its egg, the empty ovarian follicle develop into a new structure called the corpus luteum, and the corpus luteum secrete the hormone estrogen and the progesterone. So the progesterone prepare the uterus for a fertilized egg to implant. If intercourse has taken place and a man's sperm has fertilized the egg, process called conception, and the fertilized egg will travel through the fallopian tube to implant in the uterus, and the woman is now considered pregnant. If the egg is not fertilized, it passes through the uterus and not needed to support a pregnancy. The lining of the uterus break down and shed, and the next menstrual period start. Okay, our next topic is the male reproductive organ. The organ of the male reproductive system are specialized for the following functions. First function is the to produce, maintain, and transport sperm and protective fluid called semen. Other function of male reproductive organ is to discharge sperm within the female reproductive tract and to produce and secrete male sex hormone. And the male sex hormones, we can say the testosterone, and the male reproductive anatomy include internal and external structure. First is the external male reproductive structure. Most of the male reproductive system is located outside of the main abdominal cavity or pelvis. And the external structure of the male reproductive system are penis, scrotum, and the testicles. So, penis is the male organ of the sexual intercourse. It has three parts: root, which attach to the wall of the abdomen, the body or shaft, and the glans, which is cone shaped end of the penis. The glans, which also called the head of the penis, is covered with a loose layer of skin called foreskin. Okay, foreskin, this is sometimes removed in a procedure called cremations. And the opening of the urethra, the tube that transports semen and urine, is at tip of glans penis, and the penis also contains a number of sensitive nerve endings. And the body of the penis is cylindrical in shape, consists of three internal chambers. And these chambers are made up of special sponge-like erectile tissues. And this tissue contains thousands of large spaces that fill with the blood when the man is sexually aroused. As the penis fills with blood, it becomes rigid and erect, which allow for penetration during sexual intercourse. Okay, semen which contains sperm is expelled, or we can say ejaculated, through the end of the penis when the man reaches the sexual climax. When the penis is erect, the flow of urine is blocked from the urethra, allowing only semen to be ejaculated at the organism. Okay, the next organ is the scrotum. The scrotum is a loose pouch sac of the skin that hangs behind the penis. It contains the testicles called testes, as well as many nerves and blood vessels. And the scrotum has a protective function and act as a climatic control system for the testes. And for the normal sperm development, the testes must be at a temperature slightly cooler than the body temperatures, and the special muscles in the wall of the scrotum allow it to contract or tighten and relax. And moving the testicles closer to the body for warmth and protection or further away the body cool temperature. Next is testes. The testes are the oval organ about the size of very large olives that lies the scrotum, secured as either end by a structure called spermatic cord. Most men have two testes, and the testes are responsible for making testosterone, the primary male sex hormone, and for producing sperm. Within the testes are coiled masses of tube called seminiferous tubules, and these tubules are responsible for producing the sperm cell through the process called spermatogenesis. The next one is the epididymis. The epididymis is a long coil tube that rests on the backside of each testicle. Each functions carrying a storage of the sperm cells that are produced in the testes. It also the job of epididymis to bring the sperm to maturity, since the sperm that emerge from testes are immature and incapable of fertilization, and during sexual arousal contraction forces the sperm into the vas deferens. And the next is the okay. Our next topic is the internal male reproductive organ. In the internal male reproductive organ is also called the accessory, include the followings: vas deferens, ejaculatory duct, urethra, seminal vesicle, and the prostate gland. Vas deferens is the long muscular tube that travels from epididymis into the pelvic cavity. It is just behind the bladder, and it transports mature sperm to urethra in the preparation for ejaculation. So, what is ejaculatory ducts? They are formed by the fusion of vas deferens and the seminal vesicles. Urethra is a tube that carry urine from bladder to outside the body. In male, it has additional function of ejaculating semen when the man reaches orgasm. When the penis is erect during sex, the flow of urine is blocked from urethra, allowing only semen to be ejaculated. Seminal vesicle are sac-like pouches that attach to vas deferens near the base of the bladder, and the seminal vesicle produces sugar-rich fluid called fructose that provides sperm with the source of energy and helps with the sperm motility. Motility means ability to move, and this fluid of the seminal vesicle make up the most of the volume of man ejaculatory fluids or ejaculate. Prostate gland is a walnut-shaped structure that is located below the urinary bladder in front of rectum, and the prostate gland contribute additional fluid to the ejaculate, and the prostate fluid also help to nourish the sperm and the urethra which carry the ejaculate to expel during orgasm, runs through the center of the prostate gland. And next is the bulbourethral gland. These bulbourethral gland or Cooper's gland are pea-shaped structure located on the side of the urethra just below the prostate gland, and these glands produce a clear slippery fluid that empties directly into the urethra, and this fluid serves to lubricate the urethra and to neutralize any acidity that may be present due to residual drops of the urine in the urethra. So thank you.